Now we're going to have a look at our effects buses 1 and 2. Now we're going to focus on the way that we can configure the buses to work, especially with the differential unison engine. I'm not going to go through every single parameter individually of every single effect, because these are the kind of standard effects that you get within a mixing context and within your DAW. So I'm going to focus more on the logistics of the effects buses. Okay, so let's dive in. So the first thing to say is that we can switch on the routing of effects 1 or effects 2 on a voice by voice basis. So we could have 2 voices going through effects 1, for example, 2 voices going through effects 2, or 4 going through 1, 4 going through 2, or however you want to configure it. Or we can have them switched on globally for all of the voices if we have the all settings switched on. So let's kind of experiment with that a little bit. So let's choose 2 voices, and for voice 1 let's apply effects bus 1. Now the effects buses are located down here, and let's use a delay. Now to switch on the delay we need to click on the active button. So you see for each one of our effects we have an active little button underneath that allows us to switch it on. Now let's increase the feedback so we get something going on, and in fact just so we can hear a definite difference between the 2 voices, let's put on a wavetable for the voice 1, and for voice 2 let's choose something which is going to be FM, and we'll just change up something here so we have a kind of noticeably different sound. And for the second voice of our differential unison engine, let's route that through effects bus 2, and let's click on effects bus 2. Let's go onto the reverb and let's add in some reverb. Let's make it really quite huge, and let's hear what the resulting sound has given us. Just going to turn up the delay there. So a pretty interesting rich sound, and that was without kind of really auditioning anything. It was just putting those effects on, and it is that way because we have the flexibility of routing one of the voices through effects bus 1, where we can have one effects chain, and then the second voice through effects 2. And remember, that's only 2 voices. We could have 8 voices all doing different things going through these 2 effects changes. Super powerful stuff. Now going back to the effects bus itself, we're on all here with effects 1 switched on. Let's look at how we can work with this. So we have 9 different effects to choose from. Now there's a default configuration for these effects, which is distortion first, compressor last. But we can click and drag to move these around, like so. So we can create our own kind of custom configuration of effects, and that will make a difference. For example, if we added a distortion and then a phaser and then a reverb, that means we're going to be distorting the signal, adding some movement with the phaser, and then reverberating it. But let's say we had a reverb, then a distortion, then a phaser. Well, that means we're going to be reverberating the sound, so we're going to have the whole reverb tail getting distorted, and then that resulting sound being phased. So the way we configure this is important to the resulting sound at the end. And that's really where you can stand out with your sound design, because you can actually kind of further push the sounds into new areas by using your own effects chains in creative ways. Now for a lot of the effects, as we click on them, you see for the distortion and the phaser, we have this little preset menu that appears. So let's, for example, put it onto filtered for the delay. Let's try ping pong. So we can quickly just go in and try out some of the presets, which is, a great way of getting some ideas. So that's one way we could do it. So let's click on the reverb here, and let's try out a preset for the reverb. Let's try Shimmer Room. Let's use the phaser. Let's try 12 stage here. Let's click on the distortion, and let's try a Screamer 32. You can hear that at work there. Let's actually demonstrate changing the order. So you can hear how different that is, having a distorted reverb tail to having a reverberated distortion. much more subtle. And that is basically the way that we can interact with the effects buses and use them within Dune 3. So to recap, we can switch on effects bus 1 or effects bus 2 on a voice-by-voice basis. So we can pick and choose which effects are going to be applied to which voices. Or we can have the all setting switched on and we can choose which one we want to use. Now, these voices are summed together before they hit the effects bus. So for example, if we had individual voices going through effects bus 1, let's say like so, we have 2 voices here going through effects bus 1. These 2 voices will be summed together and then pass through the effects chain. Now, the effects are switched on by clicking on the active button or switched off by clicking it off. And we can configure the order in which these effects are applied to the sound by clicking and dragging around like so. And remember, we have presets for our effects, or for some of the effects in this little drop-down menu here. And that is the effects buses. Now in the next video, we're going to have a look at the remaining features that we haven't covered on Dune 3, and then we're going to dive in and have a look at some sound design examples. So I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.